Hey everyone, welcome along to this Wednesday morning in Texas. Could be afternoon or evening wherever you are. Thank you for joining us for this AMETEK SCI three-phase ascend charger introduction. It's going to be myself, Craig Williams, the Senior Technical Manager, and Rob George, the R&D Manager. I'll introduce him in just a moment. As always, the first thing that I like to ask is if you can hear me, because it's pointless me speaking if you cannot hear me. So if you can go into the chat bar on the right hand side and type in the chat bar that you can hear us loud and clear, then that would be ideal. I'll give it a few moments for it to update. And on that point, while I wait for the chat to come in, oh, very good. You can hear me loud and clear. We use Webinar Jam as our platform of choice. And there is about a 10 to 15 second delay from the time that we speak to the time that you hear us. Basically, Webinar Jam has to process all of the information, convert it into an iOS signal, an Android signal, and a Windows-based signal, and publish it out to the world. So that takes about 15 seconds. So whenever we speak, if you have a question and you type it in, we're not going to see it until 15 seconds after we've spoken. So what we tend to do is wait until the end of the presentation to answer any of the questions. And on the point about questions, there are two tabs in the chat bar. One is for chat and one is for Q&A only. If you do have a question, if you click onto the Q&A only tab, then we can go through all the questions at the end if you have any. So that is good. The other thing is Webinar Jam has a panic button. So if we see that people aren't responding or somebody says that they can't hear us or there's a problem with the video, then we can hit the panic button. And basically what it does is it creates a brand new room and it will invite everybody into that room and we will carry on as if nothing happened, allegedly. So my name is Craig Williams. I am the senior technical manager based out of the Stafford office just outside Houston, Texas. I've been in the industrial UPS industry for around about 23 years now. And I've worked with all different manufacturers and I've been with AMETEK Solidstate Controls. This is my 7th year. And I look after all of the service department, the after sales service department. I'll introduce you to Rob. Rob, if you want to give them a bit on your background.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rob George. I am the R&D manager here at AMETEK Solidstate Controls. I have been in the industry for almost 16 years, and I've worked at AMETEK Solidstate Controls for all 16 of those years. So thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning.
Cool. So what we're going to go over today is who are AMETEK, the customers and the markets that we're looking at, the applications, the key features, operations, the comparison between the Ascend charger, the brand new Ascend charger, and our DCR digital control rectifier, the installation, maintenance, spare parts and service, and the value proposition. So there is going to be, I know most of our webinars are very technically based and there isn't much sales stuff. As part of this, we don't mean it to be salesy, but we just need to give you a background on Solidstate Controls, AMETEK in particular. Okay, so at a glance, AMETEK is a global leader in the electronic instruments and electromechanical devices. We're a very large company with annual sales of more than $6 billion. And surprisingly, over 50% of our sales are outside of the United States. And we serve a diverse set of niche markets and applications. That's one of the things that AMETEK like to do is they like to find companies who work in very niche markets, something very particular, and they will buy those companies when they see that they do very well in their industry. We have approximately 18,500 employees in 150 locations in 30 countries worldwide. Last year was our 85th anniversary on the New York Stock Exchange. The symbol is AME, and we are a component of the S&P 500. And we have a long-term track record of strong growth and superior value creation for our shareholders. See, I told you some of it was salesy. Doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. What AMETEK do is when they buy companies, they keep them under the AMETEK umbrella. And basically, for us, the division is called Solidstate Control. So AMETEK Solidstate Controls is headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, founded in 1962. It's an ISO 9001 certified company with approximately 255 employees. So the majority of all of our UPSs are built in Columbus, Ohio. And we even dip and bake and wind our transformers there for the majority of our systems. And you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there that this is all of the standards, the industry standards that are applicable to our systems. So IEEE, NEMA, Intertek, NFPA, ANSI, all the good stuff, and we are UL listed as well. And our overall product lines, obviously, we're most well known for our uninterruptible power supply systems, UPS systems. We do standalone inverters. We also do standalone power conditioners. We have a varied range there. We have SCR controlled tap changers. We have ferroresonant controlled transformer-based systems. So we have a variety of power conditioners out there. We also do standalone remote bypass switches, which give you the option to have an external bypass switch that can bypass the whole of your UPS system. We have battery chargers and rectifiers, nuclear specific 1E equipment. We are approved for 1E operation and we are the manufacturer of choice in many of the North American nuclear power plants when they have UPS needs. We also have ripple choke filters and fusible panel boards, and not to mention we have monitoring software. We can monitor UPSs remotely using UPS View, and we also sell battery monitoring systems to monitor the batteries that are connected to our UPSs. And the key markets that AMETEK solid-state controls work in is the process industry, power generation, nuclear, petrochemical, oil and gas, and pipeline and transmission. Those are the 6 main areas that solid-state controls operates in. And our unit is used, basically creates machines for mission critical applications, with a design life of 20 to 40 years, which is very, very unusual in this day and age. Trying not to be salesy, but our UPSs do last considerably longer than many of the other manufacturers out there, especially commercial type UPSs. Our design life is rated to be 20 to 40 years if you follow the correct planned maintenance procedures. And our markets for solid-state controls is 80% North American and 20% international. And on the left there, you can see a wide variety of customers that we work with. So a lot of prestigious customers that use our UPS systems. Okay, so I will pass it over to you at this point, Rob.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to talk about the Ascend charger, which is a new battery charger for us. We sell it in 3-phase AC input variation and a 480 input 3-phase variation. So the one I'm going to talk about today is the 3-phase input. It's supposed to fit into a substation or a control room or a petrochemical plant. It will supply power to a DC bus that then can be used for controls, metering, and then it also usually connects to a battery, so for backup reasons. So about the Ascend 3-phase charger, it is a 480 volt 3-phase input modular charger. We offer sizes of between 20 amps and 280 amp outputs with intervals of every 20 amps. So each module is a 20 amp module at 135 volts DC. And we can stack up to 14 of those together. So like I said, the 20 amp module is, its total output power is 3 kilowatts. We offer 3 separate enclosures for the 3-phase Ascend. We have a 2 module enclosure, which holds 2 modules and up to 40 amps output. This is a wall mountable charger, and we can also provide a mounting stand, so it can be mounted on the floor and sit at like 36 inches high. We also offer an 8 module enclosure. It is up to 160 amp output, and it's floor mounted. And then we offer a 14 module enclosure, which is 280 amps, and it's also floor mounted. I will provide the sizes of those cabinets later in this presentation. And we are UL certified, we're going to be UL certified for the 3-phase up to 50 degrees C operation. We are currently UL certified for 50 degree operation in our single phase charger. And we're in the process of getting UL certification for the 3-phase as we speak. Some of the options that we offer are auxiliary contacts for the input breaker and the battery breaker, and also shunt trips for those 2 breakers so that we can disconnect our charger when the battery is discharging or at the end of discharge, or if the charger runs away with the DC voltage to shut off the AC input. We also offer a battery breaker option, so you have you can connect to the DC bus through our system and separately to a battery. This will allow you to have a separate breaker, and you can also have the option for monitoring for the battery voltage and current. If you choose this option, the battery current and voltage metering option, when the AC input is lost, the battery will continue to supply the power to the display board inside of our system, and it'll also allow you to see the discharge current of the battery and the voltage. Another option we offer is battery temperature compensation. So we can use that. So we have like a 50 meter cable is the default, but we can have longer or shorter cables that go to the battery room and measure the temperature in the battery room. And then we will compensate our output voltage depending on some predefined or specified settings. So some of the key features to Ascend are it's a power factor corrected input charger. So our power factor is above 0.98. We have low input current distortion, less than 5%, and we can achieve that without an input filter. It's also a modular charger, so the mean time to repair is 10 minutes or less. In most cases, that'll just be swapping out a module. When the system is running, each module shares the load equally. So if we have a 50 amp output and 5 modules, each module will supply 10 amps to the output. And if a module fails, the other 4 modules will take over immediately. So it can be used as an N+1 redundant system. For communications to this charger, we have a NERC compliant USB front port on the display interface that can be disabled using a switch on the back of the display if customers do not want somebody to be able to come and plug into their USB port. We also offer Modbus TCP and Modbus RTU, SNMP, NTP to get the network time so the charger can get a time from a server. And then we have optional IEC 61850 communication and DNP3 communication. The IEC 61850 and the DNP3 communications are currently modules that we add to the system, and then everything else is the hardware is already there, it just needs to be enabled. They're all part of a package too. The Modbus, SNMP, and NTP are all part of a package. And then we provide supervisory level controls on the human-machine interface, the display that you can see in these pictures. Allows you to change the output voltage, initiate flow, or equalize procedure. We can configure some relays inside the system and then do some other system configuration as well. For the 2 and 8 module enclosures, we offer top and right side cable entry. We have cutouts or punch outs that the customer can choose to punch out when they decide which kind of cable entry they would like. And the enclosure is welded. Yep, thank you. And each module has 4 cooling fans, and the 4 fans allow it to be redundant. If one fan fails, we can still supply the output. So these are the configurations we offer for the Ascend. This is going back to what I was talking about with the battery breaker option. So our standard configuration is an AC input breaker, here, the modules, the charger, and then a DC output breaker. And then we also offer one with just a battery connection, so you can monitor the current and the voltage here. And then we also offer a battery connection with a battery breaker. Some of the other advantages you can get if you choose the battery current metering option is that you can, for one, you have a battery terminal connection right there at the charger, so you don't have to have a disconnect panel or some kind of breakout panel to connect the battery to your DC bus. And then it also allows us to limit the battery current to prevent overcharging or charging your battery too hard. So that's configurable on the display as well. And when you the battery connection with the breaker supplies the same thing, except for it also has low DC disconnect to disconnect your battery from your charger if battery voltage gets too low. So we have as compared to our older DCR charger product line, we have a new graphical user interface that we think people are going to like a lot. It's a touch screen, and it's color with animations. We have animated power flow and the measurements update and everything on the main screen as needed. And we have a standard toolbar at the top there. You can see with it has the battery configuration, and then it's very hard to see, I know, but this will tell you if this will turn red and tell you the number of active alarms on the system. Okay. The display operates independently of the power modules. So you don't need AC input to operate the display as long as you have a battery there connected to the system and the battery breaker is closed. We have on the front of the screen, we have a normal LED indicator and a trouble indicator. Those are pretty much what they sound like. When your system's running normally, we'll have the green LED illuminated. And when there's trouble with the system, you'll have the red LED illuminated, and you also have an alarm buzzer that can be silenced, but it is by default turns on when your new alarm activates. The side menu over here allows for easy navigation between all of the screens on our system, and that's also available on every screen when you're using the charger. And the other thing I said earlier is we have a front panel USB that allows you to connect our SCI Link software to download logs, alarm history logs, battery history logs, and get system statuses for the whole system and each module as well. little bit more of the touch screen. The top toolbar that I was talking about, we have this navigation menu button that pops out the navigation menu side panel here that shows you what each icon means. The icons can be still pressed when it's minimized. Then we have an alarm silence button. When an alarm activates and the alarm buzzer activates, this button will become colored with white, or I think white and red. And when you press it, it'll silence the alarm. If you're configuring the system, you enter the setup menu. You have to enter a password. This lock button allows you to see if your system is locked or unlocked. It will automatically lock itself after 10 minutes, or you can press this button when it's unlocked to relock the system. One of the advantages of this is it allows you to navigate to the setup menu and then back to a non-privileged menu, and then go back into the settings without having to enter the password every time like we've had to do in the past. We have the next icon is the battery control icon. Right now it's a green battery to indicate that it's charging, but it also has an equalize mode that is an amber button, and when the battery is discharging, it turns red. If you want to put your system into equalize mode, you press the red or the green button, the green battery button. It'll pop up with a window that tells you how long you're going to equalize for and at what voltage, and then you can start the equalization from there. And then the last one is our active alarm status button. Like I said, it turns red when there are active alarms, and it shows you the number of alarms. And then if you press on that button, it'll display a pop-up that shows you exactly which alarms are active or latched. We also have some monitoring features on this new charger. We have a 10,000 event data log for that's equal on the LCD, and with expanded event information. So you can click on a data log event and see what the system voltages, currents, temperatures, and everything were at the time that the event occurred. You can also use our SCI Link software to download this data log to a computer. Or if you have the Ethernet communication option, you can download it from a website by going to the IP address of the system and downloading it there. The USB port can be disabled with a switch on the inside of the door to meet NERC compliance. There is also an option, not optional, configurable, a user configurable alarm that will activate when the USB port is active. This can be turned on and off on the adjustment screen and setup. We also have the battery history log events that can be viewed on the screen or downloaded with SCI Link or the webpage. And then here's a list of our optional network connectivity features again. It's the same list I talked about previously. So standard configuration, we have 8 relay alarm contacts for communications failures, and the communications failure relay and common relay are always there. So we have 8 total relays. 2 of them are always configured as those 2 alarms. And then 6 other relays can be configured by the user using the LCD to indicate whatever alarm they would like. We also have a relay test function on the display that can turn all relays on or all relays off, so that the functionality can be tested at those relays to make sure they're not stuck open or welded shut. We have a user configurable latching alarm option that allows, so when an alarm happens, say you get a low DC voltage because your battery is just charging, but an AC power comes back and your battery is charged back up, that alarm will be latched because it was in the low DC voltage state, but then it exited it. So that will be a latched alarm, which will appear yellow on the screen, and requires the customer to acknowledge that alarm occurred before the system goes back to its normal operating state. Like I said, this latching alarm can be configured by the customer using the setup screen. And then we also have a user configurable battery auto equalize function. this will enable this will put your battery into auto equalize mode after a power outage of 5 minutes or longer. This does require the battery connection, so that the display will know how long the system has been without power. So the standard alarms that are available, or that are always in the Ascend charger, are the low DC voltage alarm, communications failure alarm, which will tell you if there's communications failure between any of the modules or the relay board that's inside the system. A high DC shutdown that will shut down the charger with software if the voltage gets too high. We have a high DC voltage alarm. And then on 3-phase, we also have low AC input voltage and high AC input voltage as standard. So those are the standard alarms that were also standard on the DCR. But now we have the new alarm, or some alarms that were optional on the old DCR product that are now standard on the 3-phase Ascend charger. And that is our ground detect alarms, negative to ground and positive to ground, AC input failure alarm, the battery near exhaustion alarm. We have a module failure to let you know that one of the modules in the system has failed. And then we have the DC output breaker open, and alarm that aux contact is always in the system for the DC output breaker's position. And then we have a charger fuse blown alarm. And then new alarms for the Ascend 3-phase are module over temperature. So when one of the modules, the temperature of the module gets too hot, it will get this alarm. It'll indicate that either there's some kind of component failure or something inside your system, or that one of the fans is obstructed or failed. A module failure, it occurs when we command a module to go to a certain voltage or power on, and it doesn't happen. You'll also get the module failure alarm when you lose communication with that module. If the module, so we have the module over temperature alarm that's like a warning that just notifies the customer that the system is in an over temperature state. If the temperature gets too high, we will shut down the module automatically to prevent damaging the module or starting a fire or something like that. Then we have a module overload alarm that indicates when one of the modules or multiple modules are in the overloaded state. And then we also have the module AC input failure, which would indicate that some of the wiring inside the system has failed and one of the modules isn't receiving all 3 phases or the correct voltage. For circuit breaker options, on the small 2-module cabinet, we offer 10 KIC breakers, and then on the greater than 40 module or current greater than 40 amp current systems, we offer 50 KIC breakers for the AC input, and the DC output. Same for the small cabinets, 10 KIC, and for the other cabinets, it's 35 KIC. And the battery breaker has the same configuration if you choose it in your system. Some of the optional features, like we've already talked about. We've already talked about temperature compensation, current battery voltage and current monitoring. We also offer a dual current limit input. It's a dry contact that goes into our charger that will limit the current, the output current of the charger if it is closed. This is used usually for like if you have your batteries in a separate room and an exhaust fan fails. You don't want to charge your batteries too hard to prevent buildup of hydrogen gas. The same goes for our equalize inhibit dry contact. It will prevent and equalize if you, like I said, if you have a fan failure or some other situation where you'd want to prevent equalize operation. And then we also offer lifting eye bolts on the 14 module enclosure. So the differences between our Ascend high frequency charger and the DCR SCR based charger that we have been selling for 15 years or so. The biggest advantage of the Ascend is the mean time to repair is less than 10 minutes, and you can have redundancy built into your system if you're not operating at full load. It also has a better power factor of greater than 98%, better efficiency, which will reduce your electrical costs. The total THD input distortion is less than 5%. Compare that to DCR, which are somewhere around 25 to 35% without our input filter. It also has lower peak currents that will not affect connected equipment as much as the DCR would. And we also meet IEEE 519 without filtering on the Ascend charger. The internal modules provide load sharing and have built-in redundancy, where as compared to our older DCR, SCR-based charger, there is no redundancy within the system. It would require multiple systems for redundancy. And the Ascend 3-phase charger, it doesn't have an input, a large input transformer like our DCR system would. It has a very small, high-frequency input transformer that provides isolation. That weighs, the module weighs 25 pounds, as compared to our DCR transformers weigh hundreds of pounds each. So the Ascend 3-phase module is small and lightweight and easier to install and move around. Some features that are not included in the Ascend that were included in the DCR are cabinet fan failure alarms or heatsink fan failure alarms. We don't have cabinet fans in the charger, and the module fans, if they fail, you'll get an over temperature instead of a fan failure alarm. We have not included cabinet humidity monitoring. We don't have a charge failure alarm. And we don't offer commissioning mode anymore. Commissioning mode was used for commissioning, I believe it was NiCad batteries. They have to be commissioned at a higher voltage than lead acid. We don't offer the battery test function. We don't have an AC input or an input output ripple filter because we don't need it, and we don't have a space heater available either. Here's a quick reference, the differences between the DCR and the 3-phase Ascend charger. The DCR is a little more mature product line, so we have multiple input voltages. We only have 480 volt input on the 3-phase Ascend right now. The single-phase Ascend is 208 or 240 volt inputs. The DCR can also go to a higher output current, up to 1,000 amps. And the DCR also has more output voltage configurations. So the Ascend can only do 110 or 120 volt output right now, whereas the DCR can go between 24, 48, 120, or 240. The technology on the DCR is SCR based. We either have a 12 pulse or 6 pulse charger, where on the Ascend we have a high frequency input or high frequency charger that has internal modular power supplies. On the DCR without batteries, the ripple output ripple is about 2%, and we're less than 1% on the Ascend. The input distortion on the 6 pulse was 30%, on the 12 pulse on 10% for the DCR, and then we're less than 5% on the Ascend. All on the Ascend, all 2 and 8 module enclosures are IP21 rated, and the 14 module enclosure is IP20 rated, but it can be IP21 related with a trip shield. We have a standard AC surge protection on our Ascend charger, and each module has an output diode, whereas on the the DCR charger, you just had one output diode for the entire system. So here are the dimensions for our enclosures. The 20 amp and 40 amp enclosure is 23 inches high by 18 inches wide and 21 inches deep. And it is shown here on the slide with the floor stand. And then it is a wall mountable with 6 fasteners. You can see the mounting holes are here, here, and here on this side, and you can mount them directly to the flange. The 40 amp system in this cabinet would weigh about 90 pounds. And then, like I said, we have an optional floor stand that's 30 inches high. The power connections utilize compression terminals, and they can fit between 8 gauge and 16 gauge wire to the input and output. And the knockouts, we have the conduit knockouts that allow for right side or top cable entry. The A module enclosure is 54.5 inches high by 18 inches wide and 21 inches deep. It's floor mounted with four mounting holes to be able to, so you can connect to the floor. The power connections utilize 1/4 inch stud terminals, and it also has the knockouts just like the 2 module, or the 2 module enclosure. And for anything greater than 180 amps or above, we have a 14 module enclosure, which is 79 inches tall, 32 inches wide, and 36 inches deep. It has a removable plate for top or bottom cable entry. Each module has 3 status indicators. We have an AC on indicator, which is a green light, a DC on, which is also green. And if there are any faults, you'll have a red LED that either is on solid or flashes, depending on the status of the system. The power modules can be removed with 2 screws, and there's a handle to pull them out. They slide out on rails fairly easily. Replacing a module takes less than 10 minutes, but we do not offer support hot swapping of modules. The power must be turned off to the system before a module can be removed and a new one inserted. And we have some YouTube videos on our available on our website or on our YouTube channel that demonstrate the module replacement process. As for the warranty for the system, we have a 5-year warranty on parts that includes all costs associated with replacement and transportation. It does not include all costs, sorry. Well, that has to be provided by the customer. We 5-year warranty on parts. And then we will accept warranty requests through our standard RMA process that we use on all of our other systems. This is another quick graphic to show you the differences between our charger and a different, maybe even different manufacturers, different technology. Our system is modular and has, like I said, low time, mean time to repair. It's also very efficient, up to 94% efficient, and reduces power consumption. The input power factor is greater than 98 with a THD of less than 5%. It's a reliable industrial design with a mean time between failures of greater than 205,000 hours. It also has low input harmonic distortion and simultaneous voltage and current readings, and it has advanced switching power electronics technology and user-definable alarms. And it's going to meet IEEE 519 requirements, and UL 1012 approval is in process. Thank you, everybody, for attending this webinar. We're now going to open it up to questions. Right? Can they talk, or they just have to put them in the...
They put them in the chat bar. So we already have one question. It says, regarding alarms, the over-temperature alarm rather than fan failure, the charger continues to charge as much as it can without overheating itself, correct?
Yes, it will continue to charge until it reaches that shutdown voltage.
Okay.
So that shutdown temperature that will prevent shut down the module to prevent it from damaging itself.
Okay, so we have an over-temperature warning alarm, and then we have an over-temperature shutdown alarm. So while we're in the over-temperature warning, it will still continue to charge as much as it can.
Yep.
So thank you for that question, Kyle. If you have any other questions, please type it in the chat bar. We will answer it as they come through. Doesn't look like we have any questions. See, you explained it so well, Rob.
Yeah.
Do we know when the three-phase system will be introduced to the world?
We will accept orders now with a delivery between 10 to 14 weeks right now. We cannot offer UL approval over UL approved systems at this time. So we will have UL approval hopefully early summer. We'll have it finalized.
Okay. So it says, does the manufacturer warranty for current limiters applicable for VRLA batteries? I'm not quite sure. I don't know, Lily, if you could explain that question a little bit better. Does the warranty for current limiters applicable for VRLA batteries? I'm not quite sure what the question is asking, but I would assume that if you're asking if the warranty, if something goes wrong with the charger that maybe affects the warranty of your batteries, then the warranty will not extend to the batteries. The warranty will only cover the charger. I don't know if that's what you are asking, but that is the explanation. What UL label will this charger be carrying?
UL 1012.
UL 1012. Is that the same as a DCR, or is that different?
Is it the same?
They're the same. Okay.
Yes, it is the same. Sorry.
Okay.
It is the same. I had to concur with somebody.
Okay. So we've got a Canadian customer, the UL listing. Any thoughts about Canadian approval, CUL, ULC, or CSA?
Not at this time. We may be going, we would want to provide a 600 amp or 600 volt AC input charger for the Canadian UL.
Okay.
We'll get approval for that.
That was his next question, if we're going to do a 600 volt system. And question, is this battery charger compatible to be connected to a ferro inverter?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have tested that.
Okay. Some good questions. Let me see if there's any more. No, I think that is everything. I'll wait to see if any more comes in. What I will say is one of the questions that we always get asked is, will this webinar be recorded? And the answer to that question is yes. If you registered for the webinar, you will receive an email for you to go and watch the replay through the Webinar Jam platform. My recommendation is you don't do that, because it replays it as a webinar again, and you cannot fast forward, rewind, or do anything in that. But what our fantastic marketing team do, London, will get this video, convert it into an MP4, and then they will put it onto our YouTube site. And London has been amazing already and has put that in the chat bar. If you click on that link, it takes you to our YouTube site, and all of our webinars are on there, so you can browse to your heart's content, and you can share it, send it to somebody, do whatever you want. It looks like we have had another question come in. It's asking, when do you think the single phase will be available? Single phase chargers are already available and in the market.
And UL approved already as well.
And UL approved. Okay. Do you have anything else to add, Rob?
I do not. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Yep, absolutely. We will leave it at that. If there are any other questions and you still leave your chat bar open, I will be notified through the webinar Jam platform that another question has been answered, and I will reply to that from within the webinar Jam platform. But as Rob said, thank you very much for attending this webinar on the new 3-phase Ascend charger. We hope you found it interesting. And as always, you will be receiving a survey from our marketing department. If you have any topics that you want to be discussed at future webinars starting next month in March, then please do reply to that question in the survey that asks what you would like us to talk about, and we will do everything we can to create a webinar for you. But that is everything for today. Once again, we know your time is important. Thank you very much for spending it with us on this webinar today on Wednesday, and hopefully we will see you next month. Thanks again, Rob, and thanks everybody for watching.